Welcome to the HET break. Kelly, what are we talking about today?
All the things no one tells you that you need to know when you become a manager.
Part one of 792. What's the weirdest thing when you first became a manager, if you can remember, or where you had one of those moments of like, I can't believe I'm actually having to do this, or this is the weirdest thing I've ever had to ask someone for help with?
Ooh. There was, I think, one thing that struck me that I had been managing for years and I had no idea all the health and safety stuff you're responsible for as a line manager. Of like,
and personally responsible, I think.
Personally held responsible for if it goes wrong, you could end up in court. And that nobody upset. By the way, there's all these things that you're now legally responsible for. That for a little while I didn't want to leave the house. Even like it was quite scary stuff, some of it, but then you kind of go, okay, let's take a risk-based approach here. This is, but it has made me think differently about like buying lunch for the team or doing anything outside of the approved catering facilities, or that kind of things, that you have to actually think about that kind of stuff and make sure that people know they're partaking of their own free will, and this is at their own risk.
Even that, I don't know about you, but I just thinking about institutionally provided catering, I was once delivering a workshop. No, I was like organizing at the admin and program managing a series of workshops, and the in-person catering delivered by the institutionally sanctioned catering provider, the vegetarian option that they gave was jam sandwiches. I was like, wow, just wow. Okay, this is, and we'll have obviously charged a small fortune for the privilege.
Yeah.
Bonkers.
That's so funny. When I worked in research, we used to have catering for the vivas, research administration, because they have an external examiner would come quite a distance, they'd last quite a long time, then they'd have a lunch while they deliberated. But there was a senior academic that got really, because we were trying to save money, so we switched to ordering only vegetarian platters because it was cheaper and less needing to ask for requirements. There was a particular academic that got really, really angry because his family were at home, like he would have fruit, they had to have fruit for vegetable, have to for breakfast, have to set a good example for the children. He's like, and I need my chicken sandwiches. It's like, I come in for a viva, or I come in for a meeting, I need my chicken sandwiches. And we were like, so whenever he was on an exam board or a viva panel, we had to make sure there were chicken sandwiches so that he could concentrate after his healthy fruit breakfast at home.
It's a protein, keep the brain working.
Cheese just wasn't going to cut it.
Or jam.
Or jam. I'm partial to a jam sandwich, I have to say.
I love a jam sandwich. I just don't want it as my university catered lunch.
I once had actually twice, two separate events, two separate institutions had spoiled milk provided by the catering. It was quite obviously spoiled as well.
Oh, no.
That was a surprise. I was like, perhaps we could take this off the bill. Yeah.
Yeah. The negotiating has to do. Also, the internal catering is always really expensive in my experience, and challenging. And we had a challenge with events. So like the clearing is also like a big event. So it has all of the connotations that go with it about organising catering, things like that. And but catering couldn't bring it to the building that we used. They weren't in the same building. They couldn't bring hot food, even in like a bacon roll or something for breakfast or whatever. You're there at the Cracker Sparrows. I mean, literally like across the street. Couldn't do that. The director had to buy these like insulated boxy things for them specially to bring across the heated thing. But then we had to have sandwiches at that campus for lunch, like little sandwich lunch pails, which was fine for the first like 2 days. By like day 6 or 7, you're like, oh. And the chaps at the other campus were in a building that had the canteen in it, so they just had their little token and were getting their nice hot meal at lunchtime. dear me, nothing inflames, and that's what you learn as a manager, nothing inflames people working in HE more than substandard catering, or not the catering they're expecting. Like if there's tea and coffee but there's no biscuits, scandalous. And then what biscuits there are. My boss is partial to a custard cream. It's always a disappointment if there's only some digestives.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these days it all has to be individually wrapped, doesn't it?
It
So,
does.
yeah. No chance.
So my current university, they bring us like fresh soft cookies in the afternoon if you
Nice.
order tea and biscuits in the afternoon.
Nice.
But we don't want catering now, not in these straitened times.
Well, no. I feel like we're off to a good start, right? The first episode should always be about rubbish catering.
Whereas
Oh,
the person, usually the only person in the room, or not so much anymore, with food intolerances or like restrictions, and being just like having been asked for your requirements and having been passed on to, and then nothing to eat at all, or nothing at the, or you know, one small thing at the meal, but everybody else gets biscuits and cakes and and there's nothing at breaks. It's like, oh well you can have it, you know. It's just like, it's fine, it's, you know, and it just, way to make me feel welcome, thanks.
No, it's not fine. And going back to what you originally said about health and safety, which is obviously how we've gone to subject of catering. I obviously been mindful of it always, but I have never, until I had a staff member with a nut allergy, and which put like so much fear into me. I was like, we have a nut-free clearing, like no, and I just was like watching everyone's snacks, and then realized I bought my own like peanut butter toast for breakfast. I was like, oh no, I'm just so not used to thinking about it. I mean, it was fine, like the level of tolerance, you know, it wasn't like an acute allergy, but that a tiny particle would be a problem. But it really did make me think. And I also think about health and safety, and temporary staff had in clearing, a temporary staff member have a seizure. This is years ago. And we'd never asked them about any health conditions or anything like that we needed to know. There was just this kind of assumption, I guess, that if there was something we needed to know, they'd let us know. But actually, we had never asked them. Thereafter, we asked them if there were any long-term health conditions about and allergies and things that we needed to be aware of. But we never, and I think it's fortunate that like we knew what to do, and it was all fine. But it did make you realize you do make assumptions, and then suddenly in that moment you're like, crumbs, this has gone south really fast, and this is actually quite concerning, because you feel that level of responsibility.
I think that's really common as well, where for long-term service members of staff, where they've had several management changes during their career, because I had this experience where I was managing a manager who was managing somebody who had a disability, and there was this whole incident where like they'd claimed expenses for something that we were like, no, you can't have expenses for that, that's like, that wasn't agreed, blah blah blah. And you know, we got it all the way through into sort of, you know, approaching disciplinary conversations about it. And then in the end he was like, well, yeah, but you know about my disability. And we were both like, I'm really sorry, but we actually don't. And then it, you know, the whole thing unraveled, and we're like, oh, okay, well, with this context, that makes so much more sense. And he was like, oh, I just assumed you knew because HR know, you know, it's in my HR record, my previous managers knew. I'm like, but no, because, you know, there's that sort of, there's lack of clarity, isn't there, for a lot of managers about what you are and are not allowed to pass on when there's a management handover. And you know, where the boundaries of confidentiality lie around things like that.
Like your line manager can't see your HR record. We can't see anything. We get this very tiny bit of information on the system that, you know, even.
And that's really important for us as managers to ask those questions then, isn't it? Because that's a huge part. I think you kind of you do always have to be the adult in that conversation, and make sure that you're not just assuming someone will declare things to you if you need to know. But it's asking them explicit questions.
Interactive. I always ask my team, because I have had people with EpiPens in my teams before, and you know, as a food allergy person myself, just for like, if we're gonna share food, you know, if somebody could bring something in, like, do I need to warn the team not to bring, you know? So I always ask that up front, like as soon as somebody starts. It's like, we celebrate birthdays of the team, we put them on the calendar. Are you happy for yours to be included? If so, tell me your birthday and we'll include it. And then, is there anything, any food that we need to keep out of the office because, you know, due to allergies or anything? And so, and I just got in the habit of doing that because it's just part of being, you know, part of the camaraderie in the team, but also that you kind of the safety aspect. And the we found out, had a friend who, she'd been at this place for 2 years. She had a really serious nut allergy. Like, she had to use her EpiPen all the time, basically, because she had declared it and it was on a piece of paper in a filing cabinet somewhere that nobody had seen. And so, like, there were nuts in the vending machines, and there were people, you know, like, nobody had been made aware. And at the end, as she was leaving, it was like, oh yeah, you know, this has been a problem. I've had to go to hospital 3 times since I've been what? Like, how did we not know, you know, how did they not know this? How did you not, like, nobody or you know, but it's that, you know, it's like, people shouldn't have to say like that.
But also they just assume we magically know. Managers had just come out the cupboard one day, we're magically formed and we magically know everything. I think that's it. We've hit our time, ladies, as in, like, we're out of time, back to work.
So that's it from us for now. AGT break. We'll see you next time.